Hey guys, this is Dylan Wingler, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on brook trout, Salvelinus fontinalis. So to give you a quick rundown of what we're going to get on this presentation, this is going to be the classification, how to identify brook trout, their life history, their behavior and their diet, and brook trout here in North Carolina. So for the classification, brook trout are part of the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, the subphylum Verbrata, obviously since this is part of our natural history. The superclass they're part of is Actorhyngia. As you can see to the right here, there's a phylogenetic tree of that whole superclass. And they're part of the class Teleos, so they're Teleos fish. Superorder is Procantharygia. The order is Salmiformes, the family is Salmidae. These both include brown trout and rainbow trout. The genus is Salvelinus, which means char, and the specific epithet is fontinalis, which means of a spring or from a spring. Now we're going to run over identification and physical characteristics of these fish. So brook trout are found in headwater streams, which means very cold temperatures, are usually typically high elevations. Native brook trout are found usually in elevations above 3,000 feet in North Carolina or just in the South in general. You can find brook trout in rivers, kind of cold rivers throughout North Carolina or the South, but they typically are stocked fish. So they typically fall between 6 to 13 inches. That is the native fish. Your stocked fish can get from 6 to 20 plus inches, not exceeding 24 typically. And in the picture you can see they're kind of darker colorated at the top to kind of blend in. They have their speckled across their back and kind of across their whole body with those red dots, which are kind of hard to see. And then their belly is typically either yellow or kind of orange color. And the sides obviously contain the red and yellow spots. As you can see on the anal, pectoral, and pelvic fins, they all have that kind of white flash right through there. That's usually kind of the indicator I use to identify brook trout. Okay, now diving into the life history of brook trout. They're the only native trout to North Carolina, in case you didn't know that. Populations they were declining heavily in the 1800s due to logging practices. They would cut on steep slopes, which would lead to sedimentation or runoff into the streams, which would kill trout off because brook trout require cold spring water, very high oxygenated, no settlement, kind of freestone streams. So to the right is a distribution map here of the East Coast and Appalachian Mountains. As you can see, the brook trout habitat and range has been greatly reduced. Now we'll jump into the behavior and diet of brook trout. So again, they live in rocky, high elevated areas, highly oxygenated water, and cold streams. So North Carolina, they're found above 3,000 feet in elevation. They're most active near dawn and dusk. They're very aggressive predators, pretty optimistic also. Diet consists of aquatic, terrestrial invertebrates and vertebrates. So to the left here is a stonefly, in the center is a mayfly, and to the right is a caddisfly. I'm pretty convinced that they'll eat just about any insect that falls in the water. So in these next two slides, I'm just going to focus on brook trout, North Carolina, and kind of their economic impacts. So it's a highly desired sport fish in North Carolina. They're found in 27 counties. Just about every county stocks them. 40% of all stocked trout in North Carolina are brook trout. Again, it's the only native trout in North Carolina. They're often called specks or brookies, depending on where you're from. So on the picture on the left is a stocked brook trout. As you can see, kind of lost his gill plate. And on the right is a native brook trout. So obviously, you see the size difference between the two. I think the one on the right's much prettier. You know, it's kind of a bad picture. I apologize for that, but you can kind of see the deep coloration on the body versus, you know, he's kind of speckled all across on the stock brook trout. So brook trout have a huge economic impact in the outdoor industry here in North Carolina. So there's 3 hatcheries in North Carolina. They produce a couple million fish a year. And then a study put out by North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission estimated that there was 150,000 anglers per year, and they generate nearly $383 million in revenue. It's a lot of money, which provides for, there's about 3,500 jobs in the state just related to trout in general. That's from state workers at hatcheries to fly shops and fly fishing guides. The wild trout brought in an estimated $60 million alone, while the hatchery supported delayed harvest. Their impact was estimated at $250 million. That's not even counting catch and release sections of water here in North Carolina, which would be even more. And the total cost for production is $1 million, but for every dollar spent, there's a $250 return on investment. So you can do the math on that, and it adds up. So to wrap this all up really fast, brook trout are the only native trout in North Carolina. They're found in elevations of 3,000 feet or above in cold water streams. The range is reduced vastly. They'll eat anything, convinced. Natives are better looking, don't argue with that, and they have a huge economic impact. Thank y'all for listening, and I'll leave you with this picture over here.